Lena hadn't planned to drink this much. The evening had started innocently enough. One glass of wine after a long week, then another because Maya insisted, and a third because the bar lights were soft and forgiving. The city outside glowed through the windows, blurred by rain and alcohol, and for once Lena didn't feel invisible. Her phone rested in her palm, warm from being held too long. She wasn't scrolling social media anymore. She was staring at a name she'd sworn she wouldn't touch. Ethan Blackwood, CEO, Billionaire, her boss. They hadn't spoken much outside work, but lately his presence lingered in her thoughts. His calm voice during meetings, the way his eyes seemed to see more than he said, the quiet intensity that made her feel oddly safe. She told herself it was nothing. A harmless crush, one-sided, impossible. The wine disagreed. Her fingers moved clumsily, typing before doubt could catch up. You up. The second the message sent, Lena's breath hitched. Oh no, she whispered. Maya leaned closer. What did you do? I just texted my boss, Lena said, eyes wide with horror. The billionaire boss, Maya hissed. Lena nodded, panic blooming fast and hot. She locked the phone and shoved it into her purse like it might explode. Her heart hammered as she imagined every worst-case scenario. HR meetings, awkward apologies, losing her job over 2 stupid words. The phone buzzed. Once. She ignored it. It buzzed again, longer this time, vibrating against her purse like a warning. Hands shaking, she pulled it out. Yes. Are you okay? That was it. No judgment. No sarcasm. Just concern. Her chest tightened. She typed back carefully, deleting twice before sending. I'm fine. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have texted you. I had wine. The reply came almost immediately. Where are you? She hesitated, then told him. Honesty felt easier than lying tonight. Minutes passed. Too many. Maya suddenly went quiet, eyes shifting toward the window. Lena. A sleek black car had pulled up outside the bar. The door opened, and a tall man stepped out, coat collar turned up against the rain. Ethan Blackwood. He entered the bar with unhurried confidence, his gaze finding Lena instantly. When he stopped in front of her, the noise around them seemed to fade. I didn't come as your boss, he said softly. I came because you reached out. Lena's pulse raced. One drunk text. And nothing felt the same anymore. The city passed by in streaks of light as Ethan's car moved smoothly through the quiet streets. Rain tapped gently against the windows, a soft rhythm that filled the silence between them. Lena sat with her hands folded in her lap, painfully aware of how close he was, close enough to feel his presence without him touching her. I should apologize again, she said, breaking the quiet. Her voice sounded steadier than she felt. That text wasn't appropriate. Ethan glanced at her, then back to the road. It was honest, he replied. And honesty matters more to me than etiquette. She turned to him. You're not angry. No. A pause. I was concerned. That word again. It settled warm and heavy in her chest. When they reached her building, Ethan insisted on walking her to the door despite her protests. The hallway was dim and quiet, their footsteps echoing softly. Lena fumbled with her keys, her embarrassment flaring as they slipped from her fingers. He picked them up calmly and handed them back. You're safe now, he said. Inside, the apartment felt smaller, more intimate. She kicked off her shoes and wrapped her arms around herself, suddenly aware of how late it was, and how unusual this situation had become. I don't usually invite my boss inside, she said, attempting humor. I don't usually accept, he replied, equally gentle. But tonight isn't usual. They stood, several feet apart, the space between them charged but respectful. Lena studied him. Less polished than at work, jacket unbuttoned, expression unguarded. You're different, she admitted. Not untouchable. He smiled faintly. And you're not as invisible as you think. The words struck deeper than she expected. For a moment, she forgot about titles, power, consequences. There were just 2 people, awake when they shouldn't be, standing on the edge of something fragile. Ethan checked his watch and exhaled. I should leave, he said. Before this crosses into something we can't take back. Disappointment flickered through her, sharp and unwelcome. At the door, he paused, his hand resting on the handle. Lena, he said quietly, meeting her eyes. Tonight doesn't change how I treat you at work. I know, she said. But it does change how I see you, he added. Her breath caught. The door closed behind him moments later, leaving Lena alone in the hush of her apartment, heart racing, thoughts spiraling. This hadn't been a mistake. It was a beginning. Monday morning arrived with brutal efficiency. Lena stood in front of her bathroom mirror, smoothing her blouse for the third time. She told herself she was overthinking. She always dressed professionally, always prepared, but today felt different. Everything did. One late night, one unexpected visit, and now she had to walk back into a world where Ethan Blackwood was once again Mr. Blackwood, not the man who had stood in her doorway with concern in his eyes. The elevator ride to her floor felt longer than usual. When the doors opened, the familiar hum of keyboards and quiet conversations rushed in, grounding her. Or so she hoped. Ethan's office door was closed. Lena exhaled and focused on her work, answering emails she'd already read twice. Every time footsteps passed her desk, her heart skipped. She kept her eyes on her screen, determined not to betray herself. Then the office shifted. It wasn't loud or obvious, but she felt it, the subtle awareness that he was there. Ethan emerged from his office, jacket immaculate, expression unreadable. He spoke briefly with an assistant, nodded to a colleague, and moved with the same authority she'd always known. When his eyes met Lena's, it lasted only a second. No smile, no acknowledgement beyond a professional nod. Yet the look carried everything they weren't saying. Her phone buzzed. Conference room B. 5 minutes. Her pulse raced, but she rose calmly, gathering her notebook like this was any other meeting. The glass walls of the conference room offered no privacy, yet when Ethan closed the door behind her, the space felt sealed off from the rest of the world. "This stays professional," he said immediately, voice firm but not cold. "At work, there are no blurred lines." "I understand," Lena replied. "I don't want special treatment." "You won't get it," he said, then softened slightly. "That's how I protect both of us." She nodded, relieved and disappointed all at once. He hesitated, then added, "Outside this building is different." Her breath caught. "I'd like to take you to dinner," he said. "Not as your boss, not as a reaction to a text. Just two people getting to know each other." She met his eyes, seeing uncertainty there, something rare and human. "I'd like that," she said. For the first time, a small smile broke through his control. Good. When she returned to her desk, the office felt unchanged, but Lena wasn't. Every keystroke carried a quiet anticipation. Whatever this was, it would be careful. And somehow, that made it mean more. Dinner wasn't what Lena expected. There were no velvet ropes, no flashing cameras, no whispered recognition as Ethan guided her into a quiet neighborhood restaurant tucked between a bookstore and a cafe. The place smelled of fresh bread and herbs, warm and unpretentious. "I thought billionaires ate somewhere taller," she teased as they sat. Ethan smiled, loosening his tie. "I spend enough time being impressive. Tonight, I wanted to be comfortable." That set the tone. They talked. Not about work, not about the late-night text, but about everything else. Lena spoke about growing up in a small apartment with big dreams, about learning to be independent early. Ethan shared stories of long nights at the top, the loneliness that came with success, the pressure to always be certain. "You don't seem lonely," Lena said quietly. "I am," he admitted, surprising her. "Just not when I'm with you." The words settled between them, gentle and sincere. When dinner ended, neither rushed to leave. They walked slowly, the city calm around them. At her building, Ethan stopped short of the door. "I don't want this to feel rushed," he said. "Or complicated." "It already is," Lena replied with a soft laugh. "But not in a bad way." He studied her, searching her face as if committing the moment to memory. Slowly, carefully, he leaned in, giving her time, space, choice. She closed the distance. The kiss was brief and restrained, more promise than fire, but it sent warmth through her chest that lingered long after he stepped back. "This started with a text you didn't mean to send," he said. "And you didn't have to answer," she replied. "I'm glad I did." As he walked away, Lena watched until he disappeared down the street. She touched her phone, smiling to herself. Two careless words had changed everything. And for the first time, she wasn't afraid of where the story might go next.